Next on C-SPAN, oration from the floor of the UN on life in North Korea by award-winning novelist Soo-Ki Kim.
Your Excellencies, UN Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, delegates, and illustrious guests. We gather here today not to pit one against another, to incite war, or to hold tribunal. Instead, we come together to discuss the gross neglect and destitute conditions, the squalor the people are living in under the leadership of one of the only manipulative communist regimes left in existence today. Here, representing this nation at the UN is Sin Sun-ho of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or more commonly known as North Korea. North Korea is known as the Hermit Kingdom and is the most secretive country in the world. The information we know about North Korea is what the regime of Kim Jong-un and his predecessors, Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung, want us to know. They tell us rosy lies about what life is like in DPRK, but we just cannot buy it. Independent journalism is extremely difficult to conduct in such a highly censored nation. But with nuclear proliferation on the rise and the rumors of perpetual internal famine, enough is enough. We as brothers and sisters, on this planet, from nation to nation, continent to continent, we deserve the truth, and I got it for you, firsthand. As a child, I grew up in Seoul, South Korea. The earliest memories I had of living below the infamous 38th parallel was the fear and disdain I was indoctrinated with against our northern neighbors. My mother always told me stories of how my grandmother was forced to flee the Korean People's Army during the Korean War. She fled in the dark of night with my mother strapped on her back as a baby and her 4 siblings trailing behind. They fled as the people of the village screamed, "The Reds are coming! The Reds are coming!" over and over again. They ran for days, trying to get to their father who was on business in Busan, in the southernmost tip of the Korean peninsula. But nevertheless, they were lost in a sea of terror. Her oldest brother, my uncle, was dragged to the north where he was never seen or heard from again. My mother told me this story time and time again, with fairy tale-like eloquence, and it changed me. I never understood what it was like, sitting there, listening to my mother as a child. I know now. In 2002, I joined an evangelical Christian mission, even though secretly I was non-denominational, who was sending teachers into North Korea to lecture at the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology. While there, I experienced the horrors that the native citizens experience on a daily basis at only the fraction of the potency. The students I taught were of the elite variety with parents with upper-level jobs in the regime. All of them were like automatons, always following their great leader's orders. They had absolutely no clue about what was going on outside of that demilitarized zone. They were like children trapped in the bodies of 20-year-old men. They didn't have access to the internet like we do, but instead the intranet, which only had the sites approved by the government, and there weren't many. They worked on computers as old as they were. As computer engineering students, they didn't understand that they were behind the time. Stubbornly, they said, North Korea was the best. North Korea was the best at everything. They had no outside references. They didn't know who important world figures were, like Steve Jobs, a giant in their field of study as computer engineering students, but they were Michael Jordan fans. He was their only model from the outside world, as he was someone the government allowed to be heard of because they felt that he wasn't a threat. They were told the world around them was crumbling and North Korea was continually victorious. The regime lied to these people over and over again. So the students learned to lie. They lied easily, sloppily, and always. They weren't even good liars, but they were hardwired to spread lies of how great their nation was. A total lie. Everything I did in North Korea was censored. I couldn't call anyone, Skype anyone, write anyone, or send emails without minders reading and cutting out information. The entire time I secretly took notes and stored them on a hidden flash drive that I used when I wrote my memoir, Without You, There Is No Us, about my time living under the iron rule of Kim Jong-un. Although life inside the university may not seem so bad, life on the outside was disgusting. The teachers and I at the Pyongyang school were granted several field trips to visit some of the sites North Korea had to offer. Whenever we traveled, we got to see the real North Korea. We saw forced labor at construction sites under strict orders from the supreme leader. Old, gaunt women laying on the sides of roads and crouching under bridges. Skeleton-like figures line the roads and man the farms, all by force. These people are starving, but they don't care. All they care about is serving their savior, Kim Jong-un. Teachers tried to help by sneaking them food, but they can't even do that. For if they are caught, they will be forced to leave, or worse, just disappear. In North Korea, everyone is a spy. They are taught to rat on each other at any and every whim, so one lives in constant fear of being reported to the counterparts stationed at the university and around the country. This fear, day and night, eats away at you. It ate away at me. It made me feel weak and frail. I lost weight. I was sleeping 12 hours a day. I too became a robot. I fell under the spell of the great leader. He stole me away into his cult of a country. I was broken down, and standing here today, I can honestly say I could not be put back together the way I once was. So I ask you, Mr. Son Ho, how can you continue to deny that there are no human rights abuses in your damned nation? How can you tell me that there are no problems? That happiness is everywhere, intelligence is the only disease that affects your people? Tell me, how can you sit there heavy in weight and say there's enough food when your people look like walking corpses? Tell me how the smog doesn't hang low on the horizon of your one real city, and how you have electricity that actually stays on like the rest of the world. Tell me how there is no censorship when you could vanish off the face of the earth for even talking of freedom. Just tell me, how can you ignore all of us? All of the people on this earth, just to please one man, your leader. Why do you let him rule your world and ruin ours? Just tell me. Tell me how that's fair. Thank you.